Hey 8th graders, today's assignment is a 2.1 phase change. So your learning target, I can model phase changes of water. Okay, so moving on, the very first activity you guys are going to do is your notebook. You're going to open your notebook and add key concept number 6. Notice that we haven't done 1 through 5, and that's okay. You guys weren't expected to do those. I wasn't a fan of them. Okay, so when energy is transferred to or from a substance, it can change the molecule's freedom of movement. So we're not actually changing the substance itself, we're just changing the way those water molecules or whatever kind of molecules they are move around each other when we add or take away energy. All right, so your very first thing for your warm-up to do today is to open this article set called Weird Water Events. You guys will notice that we've already read the introduction to this, so you don't need to read this introduction. But if you go up here to your table of contents, you guys will see here are your 4 articles to read for your warm-up. You guys will choose 2 of those to read. Okay, so Flash Floods and Slot Canyons, Glacier Caves of Iceland, Frozen Niagara Falls, or Old Faithful Geyser. So choose 2 of those to read. And then you guys will come in here, you'll use your draw tool, and then you guys will circle which 2 you chose to read. Remember that Amplify will read those to you if you guys select that option, so you guys can just listen to those 2 articles as well. If you guys aren't circling anything here, you're kind of indicating to me that you didn't really do your job on this page, and I can assume that you probably didn't read either. Okay, note that wherever you guys see a question mark, there is something you guys need to respond to on this page, whether it's circling an article you read, circling an option for a multiple choice, filling a data table, answering a question. So you guys need to really be mindful of where that question mark is and what that means, that there's something for you guys to do on this slide, okay, for credit. So I'll be checking this slide to make sure you guys circle the 2 articles you wrote. Read. Okay, so moving on, what you guys are going to be doing is we're going to be looking at those 4 weird water events. You guys just read about 2 of them. And you guys are going to be working them through the sim on part 3 to kind of see what happens with them, with that system. And then you guys will be modeling that change on part 4. Okay, and I'm going to do some examples for you guys. So I'm going to kind of focus in on the flash floods. So on this slide, what you guys see is a little blurb about where to find the information you need to complete this for each of these 4 articles. So even though you guys only read 2 of the articles, you still will need to know the information for all 4. Okay, this is your little cheat sheet. This tells you guys where to go. So for instance, if you did not read Flash Floods and Slot Canyons, it tells you guys right here, read the 2nd paragraph starting with even in the desert. Okay, so I'm going to go into my Flash Floods, and I'm going to go to my 2nd paragraph. Even in the desert, there is water vapor in the air. Molecules of water in the gas phase. These molecules have a lot of freedom of movement and can move apart from each other, so water vapor is invisible. Again, that's because they move away from each other. There's a lot of space in between molecules, and that's why we can't see air. Okay? Even though you can't see it, the water vapor is still there. When conditions are right, hot air forces this water vapor upward, high above the desert floor where temperatures are cooler. As the water vapor cools, it changes phase and condenses into droplets of liquid water. These droplets gather to form huge storm clouds. Soon, big drops of rain fall on the dry desert. The hard, dry desert ground can't absorb all the water, so the water flows quickly across the desert floor, becoming a flash flood. All right, so that's the information we needed, was all of the 2nd paragraph. So what we know from this is if we're talking about phase change, in this weird water event, we're starting out as a gaseous water vapor in the air. It's forced upward by heat, because heat rises, and then once it gets high up in the air, it cools down, condenses, and becomes liquid water in the form of raindrops or rain clouds. And as that rain falls, again, we're in the desert, doesn't absorb water the way our ground here does, so it causes a lot of flash flooding. If you guys have ever been anywhere like Zion National Park or anywhere like that, or in those other slot canyons in southern Utah as well, they often warn about paying really close attention to the weather, because if there's predicted rain that day, you could be in a seriously dangerous position where you have rivers that are blowing trees out of the ground and carrying whole trees down them. Okay, it's pretty crazy to see. Go look up some videos of flash floods in Zion. It's pretty crazy. All right. So anyway, moving on, you guys will need the sim for this next part, so you guys will need to right-click and open this link. Okay. And then you guys can see, here's your guys' information. So choose the substance A, B, C, or D that matches the starting phase. So in the case for our flash floods and slot canyons, we're starting out as a gas. Make the molecule's freedom of movement change. So you guys need to think about how you can do that with the sim. And then the change should match the phase change that occurred in your article. All right, so let's go ahead into our sim. First things first, you guys need to hit play to see how the molecules are moving. And you guys start off on substance B. You guys are going to kind of scroll through all of those. Remember with the slot canyons, we're starting out as a gas. So I want to find a substance that starts out as a gas. And if I look at this, I can kind of click on a molecule and see how that molecule is moving. It looks like it's kind of moving around each other, but it's not really moving away from the other molecules. Okay, there's a couple up here that might be evaporating that are moving away, but for the bulk of this, our molecule is a liquid, or our substance is a liquid here. Okay, we can check on A, and we can look at one molecule. It looks like A is a solid because all those molecules are just moving in place. They're not moving past each other. So let's go into C or D. You can click on a molecule here, and that one's definitely a gas. It is filling up that whole container. It's not just resting at the bottom. It's still probably not the best gas we can find. So let's look at D. Okay, D definitely is filling up that container just a little bit better. It has a little bit higher energy. So we're going to go ahead and start with substance D. And then we're going to manipulate this in the sim to turn it into a liquid. So think about what we need to do to turn this into a liquid. We can't come over here and change the temperature, okay, but we can change the amount of energy. So should we add energy, transfer it in, or should we take away energy and transfer it out? Okay, when those gas molecules in these hot deserts move upwards, they cool down and lose their energy, and that's what turns them into a liquid. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to drop our energy down, which, as you note, is dropping our temperature down as well. And what we're going to see is now our substance is at the bottom of our container, so it is now acting as a liquid, and we can either take it down a little bit further to kind of see what that would look like at a little bit cooler phase. Okay, so that's what you guys are doing in the sim for this, is modeling those 4 things. Okay, let's go on to our next one. So now these are the answers basically to your data tables that you guys are going to fill out for this simulation. Okay, notice across the top we have the words condensation, evaporation, freezing, and melting. Those are obviously phase changes, so you're going to need to use those. And then we can kind of see right here the water became hotter or the water became colder. And also energy transferred into the liquid or energy transferred out of the liquid. In this case, we're talking about water, not necessarily the liquid. I don't really like that terminology because we're not starting with a liquid in the case of the slot canyons. Okay, so let's look at our data table and how we're supposed to fill out this data table. So I already kind of did this for you guys. So we're looking at type of phase change. In this case, we're going from a gas to a liquid, and that's called condensation. You guys see this in your shower every morning. You guys see it on the grass in spring and summer in the mornings, okay, where that water vapor cools off overnight and condenses onto little dewdrops of water on our grass or on plants outside. Okay, what caused the water to change phase in the article? You guys can kind of give this canned response. From the word bank, the water became hotter or the water became colder. In this case, it became colder. And you can use that, or I went into a little bit more detail from the article and said water vapor is forced into cooler air and condenses to form rain clouds or liquid water. Okay, so I gave a little bit more detail with that response. And then how did you cause the phase change in the sim? So you guys can definitely use the canned response for that. So you guys, in this case, transferred energy out of the water. So transferred energy out of the gas or out of the water, either works. Obviously, we didn't start with a liquid, so I wouldn't say out of the liquid. Okay, so you guys will go through, you guys will figure out where you need to find the information for glacier caves, frozen Niagara Falls, and Old Faithful. You guys will go read that little paragraph, and then you guys will model those in the sim. Again, start with your solid for glacier caves, liquid for both Old Faithful and frozen Niagara Falls. Okay, and then you guys will make the necessary changes to the energy to show that phase change that you saw in the weird water events. And then again, you'll use these words in the word bank to fill out your information in your data table. Okay, so I'm just going to go through and delete these really quick for you guys. Actually, I'll leave that one for you guys. All right, the last part of this is modeling. Okay, so you guys will have, I'm going to show you guys this first teacher modeling. And then you guys, and then I'll show you guys the flash floods as well. And then you guys will do the other 3 on your own. So Puddle in the Sun modeling tool, you guys will notice that each one of these has its own modeling tool. So you guys will right click and open that link. And then it'll tell you guys right here, show what causes a puddle of water in the sun to change phase. Okay, so you guys will want to kind of stick to the correct modeling tool. Again, each link is different, so after you guys are done with this one, you guys can close out, and then when you go on to the next slide, open that new link. All right, so what we're going to do here with this modeling tool is model this phase change of water in a puddle evaporating into the air. So we're starting out as a liquid. So notice how I can kind of drag these. This little line shows us where we're at in our energy. Water is about midway up in our energy. Okay, and then it's going to change phase to a gas. And gas, because it has that energy that it absorbs from the sun, which I'll talk about here in a second, has a little bit higher energy than this liquid. All right, so to get the correct information in this modeling tool, we're going to go ahead and click on this pencil. And we're going to say, all right, we're starting out as water in a puddle is a liquid. Those little molecules are going to move around each other. And then we're going to talk about the appearance. So it stays at the bottom of the container, takes the shape of the container, and it flows. Okay? Then I'm going to hit close, and you guys will see that information will get transferred onto this modeling tool. Then we're going to model that same mud puddle after it's been heated up in the sun and turns into a gas. Okay, those molecules are moving apart from each other or away from each other. And then as far as this goes, we're going to see that gas has no visible shape, and it fills its container. Okay, so that's going to be what we need for a gas right there. The last little part of this is to talk about how energy played into that. Okay, so we obviously have water at a lower energy and our gas here at a higher energy. So that's going to indicate we moved up in our energy. So we're going to drag this guy out here. And then we're going to either want to label this little red hexagon as either energy transferred in or energy transferred out. In the case of that, energy is being transferred in. That comes from the sun. That's giving heat to that puddle and giving it energy. So making those liquid molecules start to move faster until now they're moving so fast because they have so much energy that they're starting to move away from each other and evaporating. Okay, then you guys will go ahead and take a screenshot of this. If you guys have a snipping tool, great. You guys can snip that, copy it, and paste it into your assignment. Or if you guys are using a Chromebook, there we go. Or if you guys are using a Chromebook, you guys will use the little key above the number 6. So here's that little help for you guys again. So hold down Shift and Control, and then hit this little key right above your 6, and then you guys can click and drag. Your image will pop up in the bottom right-hand corner of your screen, and underneath it'll say Copy to Clipboard. You will click on Copy to Clipboard, and then you guys will come in here and you will paste that image, Control V. So now you guys should have that image in here. You guys can size it as large as you need. I don't care if it takes up the whole screen, but I do need to see that image. Okay? Moving on, I'm going to exit out of that modeling tool because my next page will have that same modeling tool. So here's your guys' instructions if you need to kind of read through those. But here's your flash floods modeling tool. Again, it is different, so you guys will want to open up this new link. Okay? And again, you guys will go walk through these same phases here. So remember, we are starting out with this modeling tool for flash floods. It's going to take forever to load for me, isn't it? All right, so you guys started out with your flash floods with your water acting as a gas, and then again it rose to those higher atmospheric conditions, it cooled down, it condensed into a liquid, and that caused our energy to change, and those molecules, they started moving differently, it became a liquid, and then they were able to cause this flash flood. So same as before, you guys are going to grab your 2 before and after substances. So in this case, we started out as a gas, so it's higher energy, and then it moved to a liquid in the form of rain as this about middle road energy. And we're going to do the same thing here where we're saying, all right, it started out as a gas, it takes the shape of its container, and it fills the container, and they're moving apart from each other. Oops, sorry, moving apart, there we go. And then closing that down, same thing here, editing our liquid. They're moving around each other. It's a liquid. It's got flows, takes the shape of the container, and stays at the bottom of the container. Okay? And then because we have that air moving upwards and cooling down, we're actually losing energy. So you guys will grab this down arrow, drag it here, and energy is being transferred out. So we're losing that energy to the atmosphere around us, causing our molecules to have less kinetic energy. They're slowing down their movement, and now they're really only moving past each other in the form of a liquid. Okay, then you guys would snipping tool this or screenshot this in right here into your guys' slide. And then you guys are going to go through and model glacier caves. Niagara Falls, again, remember these all have different links, so make sure you guys close out of the last modeling tool and open up these new links for these other modeling tools, and then Old Faithful. So I should have those other 4. I will leave the picture for the flash floods in for you guys. Okay, last but not least, do your wrap up. Do you have any questions? Circle yes or no. If yes, type them below. And then how do you feel you did on this assignment? 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, if you guys have anything that's preventing you from doing this assignment, make sure you guys let me know. And you guys are done. You can go ahead and hand it in. I hope you're having a great day.